Imagine waking up one day, standing in front of the mirror, and seeing someone who seems almost perfect, a flawless reflection. Your skin, your body, your hair, all meticulously aligned with the images you've seen everywhere. On billboard, in magazines, on the endless stream of social media feeds that constantly demand your attention. But here's the unsettling thing. As you gaze deeper into your own eyes, something shifts. The reflection begins to lose its clarity, becoming distorted. It's as if, in that moment, the image staring back at you is no longer just a mirror of who you are, but a projection, a carefully curated version of you, created by forces far beyond your control. How did we get here? How did perfection become the ultimate goal? How did we arrive at a point where we can no longer differentiate between who we truly are and who we think we should be? This is not just about the rise of social media or the filters that shape our every image. It's far more insidious than that. It's about an invisible force that has been quietly shaping human existence for centuries. It's about a paradox. The more we strive for perfection, the further we seem to move from it. Perfection, once viewed as a noble pursuit, now seems more like an illusion, an unattainable goal that leaves us feeling hollow and unfulfilled. How does perfection manifest in your life? Do you see it in the way you strive to meet impossible standards at work? Do you feel it in the relationship you think you should have with others, rather than the one that feels real? Have you ever noticed how, even in moments of supposed success, there's still a nagging emptiness, a voice whispering that you're not enough, that the chase is still on? And what if I told you that this pursuit, this insatiable drive toward an idealized version of yourself, may not only be futile, but dangerous? What if the very thing you think is your greatest aspiration is actually an invisible cage, holding you prisoner in a world of expectations that were never your own? Now, let me ask you this. Who are you really beneath the image you created? And more importantly, can you bear to look at yourself if you were to strip away that illusion of perfection? As you sit with these questions, allow the discomfort to settle in. There's no rush to find an answer just yet. But know this, the search for perfection, as it turns out, is not a quest for self-improvement. It is at its core an attempt to avoid facing something much darker, much more profound. Something that, when fully realized, has the power to shatter everything you thought you knew about yourself. The real question isn't about how to be perfect. It's about what you're really running from. What is the truth behind this relentless pursuit? And what would happen if you were to stop chasing it altogether? Let's explore this together. The obsession with perfection is not a new phenomenon. It's as old as human nature itself. But its modern form, amplified by technology, media, and societal pressure, is an insidious force that shapes how we see ourselves, others, and the world around us. But the question is, why? Why do we feel this constant, gnawing urge to mold ourselves into something unattainable? Why does the pursuit of flawlessness seem like an unending cycle that only leads to more dissatisfaction? To begin understanding this, we must delve into the psychological and philosophical roots of this obsession. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche famously proclaimed, "He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster." The problem of perfection is no different. It's not just an external pursuit. It's a transformation of the self. We are shaped by the very thing we chase, molding ourselves into creatures who crave validation, whose identities become entwined with an ideal we cannot reach. But the roots of this lie even deeper. To understand why we chase the illusion of perfection, we must first examine how we come to define ourselves at all. Carl Jung, one of the pioneers of modern psychology, suggested that humans are deeply driven by the search of the self, the essence of who we truly are, hidden beneath layers of societal expectation and personal insecurities. The problem, Jung argued, is that most people never reach the self. Instead, they live their lives in pursuit of an ego ideal, an image of who they think they should be, shaped by others and their environment. These ideals, influenced by external forces like media, family, and social norms, slowly erode our true selves, replacing authenticity with imitation. We live in a world where we are taught to fear imperfection. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to strive for success, beauty, and approval. We are told that happiness lies in meeting these ideals, that we are only worthy of love, respect, and admiration if we align ourselves with these images of perfection. The ancient Greeks, in their pursuit of virtue, celebrated the idea of the ideal form. But today, these forms are no longer metaphysical ideals to be attained through wisdom. They are packaged, marketable images that promise a shortcut to happiness. We are bombarded with the perfect lives of others, curated to showcase only the best, most flawless parts of their existence. The endless scroll of Instagram feeds, the airbrush covers of magazines, the curated and filtered personas, all of these reinforce an ever-expanding sense of what is acceptable, what is enough. But deep within us, there is a tension, a conflict. Our authentic, messy selves come into direct contradiction with these polished, airbrushed versions of life. And so we strive. We strive to close the gap. But the gap never closes. It only grows wider. Jean-Paul Sartre, a philosopher deeply concerned with the existential crises of modern man, would call this a condition of bad faith. It's the act of lying to oneself to avoid the discomfort of confronting a harsh truth. In this case, the truth is that perfection is not only unattainable, it is irrelevant. Yet, we cling to the illusion of it, even as it keeps us in a perpetual state of disillusionment. Sartre would argue that this internal conflict, the clash between who we really are and who we believe we should be, is the very essence of human suffering. In trying to live up to an unattainable ideal, we are trapped in a constant state of self-deception. Perhaps more unsettling than this philosophical insight is the psychological reality. We become addicted to this pursuit. Studies in cognitive psychology have shown that our brains are wired to seek out rewards. We feel a rush of pleasure when we achieve something, even if that achievement is rooted in an ideal that's not truly our own. The dopamine hit we receive from social media likes, from compliments on our appearance, from accolades at work, all of these reinforce a desire to keep chasing. But over time, this pleasure becomes less satisfying. The more we chase the illusion of perfection, the more hollow it becomes. And what happens when we don't measure up? When we can't meet the standard we've set for ourselves, or that society has set for us? The answer is guilt, shame, and a pervasive sense of failure. The more we fail to meet this unattainable ideal, the more deeply ingrained the belief becomes that we are not enough. We are conditioned to believe that imperfection is synonymous with worthlessness, that only perfection is deserving of recognition, love, or success. But here's the dark truth. This relentless drive is not just about chasing success. It's also about avoiding the pain of facing something much deeper. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, believed that the true source of human suffering is not external circumstances, but the inability to find meaning in life. In our modern context, the pursuit of perfection is not just an empty chase for superficial success. It is also a desperate attempt to escape the existential emptiness that comes with not understanding who we are or why we're here. We seek perfection not because we believe it will bring us true happiness, but because it offers a way to silence the existential void within us, the discomfort of facing ourselves without the distractions of external validation. So why does this matter? Because until we confront the psychological and philosophical foundations of this illusion, we will remain trapped in its grip. And the longer we chase, the further we drift away from understanding who we really are. And this brings us the most unsettling question of all. What is it that we are truly afraid to face? And how long can we continue to run from it? You may not realize it yet, but the pursuit of perfection, while seemingly harmless or even commendable, have profound and far-reaching consequences on both a personal and societal level. These consequences are subtle, creeping into every aspect of life in ways that you may not even notice at first. The most insidious part of this is that they shape your reality without you realizing it, subtly altering how you live, how you see others, and how you view yourself. These are the unseen consequences, the ones that linger beneath the surface, quietly influencing the course of your life. On a personal level, the quest for perfection creates an unrelenting cycle of anxiety, stress, and self-doubt. It begins innocently enough, with small goals and aspirations, getting a promotion, achieving the perfect body, or living the perfect relationship. At first, these pursuits might feel motivating, even empowering. You work harder, push yourself further, and for a while, it seems like the chase is worth it. But then, something shifts. The pursuit becomes less about the original goals and more about the external validation that accompanies them. The likes, the compliments, the recognition. These become the real reward, not the accomplishment itself. But here's the catch. No matter how many times you achieve the so-called perfect outcome, it never feels like enough. That sense of satisfaction is fleeting. The moment you reach one goal, you're already on to the next one. Never truly allow yourself to feel content with what you've accomplished. The more you chase this fleeting sense of satisfaction, the more you fall into a trap of perpetual dissatisfaction. This cycle of fleeting joy and never-ending dissatisfaction fuels a deep internal conflict, one that makes it impossible to ever truly feel at peace. This is not just a mental issue. It's physiological, too. Research has shown that striving for unattainable goals leads to chronic stress. When you fail to reach the idealized versions of yourself, your brain processes this as a form of failure, triggering the release of cortisol, the stress hormone. Over time, this constant battle to meet expectations, whether your own or society's, leads to burnout, exhaustion, and emotional depletion. The pressure to be perfect starts to take its toll, not just on your mind, but on your body as well. Heart disease, digestive issues, insomnia, these physical consequences of stress are well documented. The more you seek to meet an impossible standard, the more you risk losing your health in the process. The consequences extend beyond the individual level into relationships as well. When you see yourself through the lens of perfection, you begin to impose those same ideals on the people around you. Your partner, friends, colleagues, all become your players in your narrative of what perfect relationships should look like. This creates a constant sense of disconnection. How can anyone ever measure up to the impossibly high standards you've set? How can anyone truly connect with you when the you they are trying to connect with is a construct of perfection that you yourself can't even maintain? There's a subtle shift in the way you interact with the world when you view everything, your life, your career, your relationships, through the lens of perfectionism. People become tools for validation, objects that fulfill a need rather than human beings to connect with. Your interactions with them are filtered through the need to preserve an ideal. You don't allow yourself the vulnerability required for genuine connection because vulnerability, after all, is the antithesis of perfection. The more you demand perfection from those around you, the more isolated you become, living in a world where everyone is either a reflection of your ideal or a failure to live up to it. But it doesn't end there. The societal consequences of the pursuit of perfection are equally troubling. We live in a world where the value of an individual is often judged based on external measures, appearance, wealth, success. Social media has become a breeding ground for this value system, where curated versions of reality are broadcasted to millions of people. It's a constant cycle of comparison, and the more we compare ourselves to these seemingly perfect versions of others, the more we fall into despair. You are constantly measuring your worth against the polished, idealized versions of other people's lives, which are in many cases just as constructed as your own. But even more damaging is the societal pressure to conform. In a world obsessed with perfection, those who deviate from the ideal, whether in appearance, career, or behavior, are often marginalized or silenced. This is particularly evident in how we treat aging, failure, and imperfection. In cultures that prize youth, beauty, and success, aging is treated like a curse. Failure is seen as a sign of incompetence rather than an opportunity for growth. And those who fall outside the lines of perfection are left to feel inadequate, unworthy of respect or love. The cultural narrative perpetuates the illusion that perfection is a goal, and anything less is a failure. This societal obsession with perfection also influences policy and public perception. It shapes industries, from beauty standards and fashion to the way companies market products and services. It molds the way we see success, often ignoring the complexity of individual experience in favor of a one-dimensional, idealized version of the successful person. But the truth is, no one is truly perfect. And by perpetuating the idea that perfection is attainable, we set ourselves up for failure, both individually and collectively. Yet the most alarming consequence is perhaps the emotional toll this all takes. The constant comparison, the never-ending striving, the internal conflict. It creates a profound sense of inadequacy. No matter how much we achieve, no matter how many perfect versions of ourselves we present the world, we can never truly escape the sense that we are falling short. And so we keep running, keep striving, keep chasing, but the end result is always the same. We never catch the illusion. Now, let me ask you this. How long can you live in the shadows of these consequences before you realize they are not just external forces? They are a reflection of your own inner turmoil. Imagine, for a moment, that you stop. Just stop. Stop chasing the next goal. Stop comparing yourself to the airbrushed, perfect versions of others. Stop measuring your worth against an unreachable ideal. For a split second, imagine what it might feel like to shed the burden of perfection that has been woven so deeply into the fabric of your existence. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? The very idea of breaking free from this unrelenting pursuit might make you uneasy, as if you're letting go of something vital. But here's the radical truth. By continuing to chase perfection, you are actually forfeiting your true self. The answer, however, does not lie in a passive acceptance of imperfection. It's not about simply resigning to a state of mediocrity or abandoning any standards. Instead, the rebellion lies in shifting your entire perspective on what it means to live a meaningful and fulfilling life. The first step in breaking free from the illusion of perfection is realizing that it was never your goal in the first place. This might be difficult to accept, but it is liberating. The idea of perfection was imposed on you by society, by cultural narratives, by expectations that have no true bearing on who you are or what you're capable of. Perfectionism is an external concept, not an internal truth. Take a moment and consider, what if, instead of aiming to become perfect, you aim to become whole? What if the goal wasn't to fix your flaws, but to embrace them, to integrate them into the beautiful mosaic of your true self? This shift in focus is powerful. It turns your attention away from the relentless pursuit of an ideal and redirects it toward accepting and nurturing all parts of who you are. This idea isn't new. The Stoic philosophers, especially Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, understood the danger of perfectionism in a world that is inherently unpredictable and imperfect. For the Stoics, the key to a meaningful life wasn't achieving an ideal or avoiding failure, but in accepting the things we cannot change and focusing on what we can control. Our reactions, our thoughts, and our actions. Perfection, in the Stoic sense, was not an external state, but an internal attitude, one that involved cultivating virtue, wisdom, and peace of mind. But how does this rebellion take form in your day-to-day life? How do you stop the incessant drive for perfection and instead embrace wholeness? The first step is to practice self-compassion. Rather than berating yourself for not measuring up to your own or society's standards, begin treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a close friend. Embrace your flaws, your mistakes, your weaknesses, not as evidence of your failure, but as integral parts of your unique human experience. When you stop seeing your imperfections as flaws, they lose their power over you. Second, adopt a mindset of progress over perfection. This shift in focus removes the pressure to always get everything right. Instead of demanding that everything be flawless, allow yourself the freedom to make mistakes, to learn, to grow. Growth is not linear, and it is rarely perfect. It's messy, it's unpredictable, but it's also incredibly rewarding. Every mistake you make, every failure you encounter, becomes an opportunity for self-discovery. This mindset is liberating because it removes the rigid standards that keep you locked in a cycle of anxiety and frustration. A third step is to reject the comparison game. You cannot compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Social media, with its carefully curated snapshots of other people's lives, is often the breeding ground for the sense of inadequacy. But once you recognize that perfection is a construct, one that no one can fully achieve, no matter how flawless their life may seem, you'll begin to see the futility of comparing yourself to others. Your worth is not contingent upon your ability to meet an ideal standard. It's rooted in your humanity, your unique experiences, and your individual story. Lastly, find meaning in imperfection. Think back to the philosophers who rejected perfectionism, whether it was Nietzsche's embrace of will to power, a life lived boldly and without fear of failure, or Viktor Frankl's search for meaning in the most harrowing of circumstances. Frankl, in his experience as a concentration camp survivor, discovered that those who were able to find meaning in their suffering, in their imperfections, were the ones who survived the longest. It wasn't the pursuit of perfection that gave them strength. It was the courage to confront the harshest realities of life and still find purpose. Incorporating these practices into your life might not be easy. After all, you've been conditioned to believe that perfection is the ultimate goal. But with each step, you begin to chip away at the false idol of perfection, and in its place, you make room for a more authentic, fulfilling existence. The rebellion against perfectionism isn't about rejecting success or growth. It's about redefining what those terms mean. Success doesn't lie in flawless execution. It lies in the courage to be imperfect, to be vulnerable, and to embrace the messy, beautiful process of becoming yourself. And so, you begin the journey of breaking free from the chains of perfection. The rebellion starts small, a thought, a shift in perspective, an intentional act of self-compassion. But over time, it grows. It spreads. It becomes a quiet revolution that changes the way you live, work, and relate to others. And as you step into this new way of being, you might find something remarkable happening. A sense of peace. Not the peace that comes from meeting a goal or reaching a standard, but the peace that comes from accepting yourself exactly as you are, flaws and all. Now, here's the real question. Are you ready to live without the pressure of perfection? Are you willing to risk embracing imperfection in order to discover the freedom that lies on the other side? The path you've just begun to walk, the journey of rejecting pursuit of perfection, is not a simple one. It will require courage, patience, and most importantly, deep introspection. You may find yourself questioning everything you've known about your identity, your goals, and the world around you. But in this final revelation, I will ask you to consider something even more profound. What if the illusion of perfection is not only a trap, it is also the very thing keeping you from the most liberating truth about life? What if your struggle to be perfect has obscured the deepest, most profound realization of all, that the meaning of life is not found in flawless achievement, but in the very act of embracing its impermanence, its messiness, and its imperfections? The truth is this: perfection is an illusion, and imperfection is the gateway to your humanity. The pursuit of perfection blinds you to the deeper layers of existence, to the richness of being human. It shackles you to a false narrative that limits your potential for true fulfillment. But when you finally accept that perfection is a mirage, a goal that no human can fully reach, you are free to live authentically, to embrace the raw, unrefined essence of your existence. You might now ask, what does that even mean, living authentically? The answer lies in the radical acceptance of your own humanity. It lies in realizing that your flaws are not obstacles to overcome. They are the very elements that make you whole. Your imperfections are not mistakes or shortcomings. They are the building blocks of your uniqueness, the markers of your individuality, and the path to your deepest connections with others. Think of the Japanese concept of wabi-sabi, the appreciation of beauty and imperfection, and the fleeting nature of life. It's a recognition that nothing in this world is permanent or perfect, yet there is profound beauty in the cracks and the folds. The process of decay, of aging, of growth and deterioration is not something to be feared or avoided. It is the natural rhythm of life itself. In embracing this impermanence, you find peace. You begin to see that perfection is not only unattainable, it's irrelevant. What matters is the ability to live in the moment, to savor life's unpredictability, and to find meaning in the ever-evolving process of becoming. This realization, when fully absorbed, shifts the lens through which you view not only yourself but also the world. It frees you from the exhausting need to prove yourself worthy, to live up to impossible standards. It allows you to step into your full power, not because you're flawless, but because you are whole. You can stand confidently, not because you have achieved perfection, but because you have learned to embrace your own complexities, your contradictions, and your impermanence. The ultimate truth, then, is not that we must strive for perfection, but that we must find peace in imperfection. The paradox is this: the more we chase the unattainable, the further we get from the essence of what it means to be truly alive. And it is only by letting go of the need to be perfect that we can truly connect with the depth of our existence. Once you grasp this profound insight, everything shifts. The burdens you've been carrying for so long, those of judgment, comparison, and inadequacy, begin to melt away. You no longer measure yourself by standards that were never truly yours. Instead, you stand in your own truth. You allow yourself to be messy, to make mistakes, and to live a life rich with the complexities of being human. This truth isn't just liberating for you personally. It can transform the way you engage with others and the world around you. Imagine what would happen if, collectively, we all recognize the futility of perfectionism. Imagine a society where imperfection was not only accepted but celebrated, where vulnerability was seen as strength, where failure was embraced as part of the learning process, and where each individual's authentic self was valued above the hollow pursuit of flawless appearances. That is the world we could create, but only if we begin by embracing our own imperfections. So, as you step away from the chains of perfection, ask yourself, what does it mean to truly live? It means living with courage, with self-compassion, and with an open heart. It means daring to be vulnerable, to let go of the need to impress, and to be fully present in the beautiful, messy journey of life. The answer has always been within you. You spent so long chasing the mirage of perfection that you forgot the most simple yet profound truth. You are enough, imperfections and all. The next time you look in a mirror, don't search for flaws. Instead, embrace the person who looks back at you with all their complexities, their mistakes, their growth. That person is real. That person is human. That person is beautiful. And in this acceptance, you'll find freedom from the endless chase, freedom to live, and most importantly, freedom to be yourself. Now, take a deep breath and ask yourself one last question. What would it feel like to live in a world where imperfection is not something to be ashamed of, but something to be celebrated? The answer is the beginning of your revolution, the one where you no longer chase perfection, but embrace the imperfection that makes you whole.